Heads up, friends. The unofficial Shopify podcast is made by indie entrepreneurs for indie entrepreneurs and may contain material not suitable for all audiences, like swearing or economics. Listener discretion is advised. Hey, are you frustrated by your current theme? Does it have an inflexible design? Do you feel like you're butting up against the limitations of that theme? Does it feel slow? Turbo Theme out of the sandbox is the solution to these woes. Turbo is a premium, fully loaded online store 2.0 Shopify theme with a focus on visual storytelling. You don't want to lose potential customers to a poor user experience. That's the worst nightmare. We don't want that. Turbo Theme will supercharge your online store with speed, flexibility, and advanced features. Turbo promises fast load times, flexible design, shoppable images, age gate functionality, and regular recurring premium updates. If you upgrade to Turbo Theme, you can watch your store's performance skyrocket. And Out of the Sandbox is trusted by high-volume Shopify merchants and renowned for their excellent customer service. Out of the Sandbox stands behind their product with a 14-day satisfaction guarantee. So if you're not in love with Turbo, they're going to refund it. The choice is clear. Upgrade your store with Out of the Sandbox and Turbo today. Don't miss out on that opportunity to elevate your Shopify store's performance. Invest in Turbo. Don't let slow site speed hold your business back any longer. Go to outofthesandbox.com to see the demo, learn more, and license Turbo Theme for your store today. That's outofthesandbox.com. On today's show, we're diving deep into one man's odyssey from Shopify insider to e-commerce innovator. Our guest today is Daniel Patricio. He spent 8 golden years at Shopify as a product lead before launching his own e-commerce store, Bull and Cleaver, only to then get hit by the iOS update. On this episode, we are talking conversion rates post iOS 14, the future of storefronts, and Daniel's insider tips for you. Get your notepads ready, my friends. I'm your host, Kurt Elster.
Check nasty.
And this is the unofficial Shopify podcast. Well, I got a new cha-ching sound effect. That was like a little sharper, a little higher, a nice musical quality to it.
I like it.
All right. I need just like the straight cha-ching sound that the Shopify app uses. I'm going to pull that out of the iOS app.
Yeah.
Use that.
Funny enough, my brother designed it. So
no way.
I have it. Somewhere in my email inbox, I think.
What are the chances that I would bring that up while talking to someone who knows where it came from?
Yeah.
So, you got started with e-commerce by working at Shopify, and sounds like that was quite some time ago.
Even prior to joining Shopify, my first company, I think I pitched Shopify on an app, and they had the first app contest. That was the way back. But yeah, I think diving deep in was about 10 years ago. I came to Shopify in 2013 when I was part of a product design agency called Jet Cooper, and we were acquired by Shopify.
I remember that, and I didn't know what Jet Cooper did. I just knew it sounded really cool.
It's a good place to start. I think back then there weren't a lot of people exclusively doing design, exclusively thinking about mobile. And we were kind of an acqui-hire. We didn't do too much e-commerce work, but I think we doubled the number of designers in Shopify when we joined. So it was a fun and interesting time to kind of bring the teams together and that kind of thing.
Okay, so that's about 10 years ago. That's not long after I became a Shopify partner, and probably just before we said, you know what, we're going all in on this and just doing this exclusively full time now. It was an exciting time, because it was you still had that that startup culture, and worth it, move fast and break things, that kind of stuff. So tell me about those. Tell me about your first job at Shopify. What were you doing there?
So the place I started was on onboarding, so kind of setting the experience as soon as you signed up. And nobody had really ever looked at it before. Nobody had ever thought about it before. And Shopify was getting a bunch more complicated at that time. I think Stripe, the auto setup of payments just came up, and we're like, okay, foot on the gas. Now you don't need to set up a payment gateway, which was like a nightmare for my first business. You've got to put up 10 grand at the bank to get a merchant account, and they were automating that. So
I forgot about how revolutionary Stripe was. Today we take it for granted that of course there is an internet payment processor that just works with everything and is easy versus, before then it was, all right, fight your way through getting, probably an authorized .NET account. And now in this really stodgy web interface, like try and figure out your API keys and hope you set that thing up right so that you actually capture the payments and get notified about it. It was such a pain. Stripe made life easier. And then
you have to be really motivated, really motivated to start a store, like versus now, it's you don't ever think about it, right?
And you were there a while, and it was during this just incredible growth phase. How did things change? Because they really would have added a huge number of people in that time, which just like by necessity, by organization, by culture, things are going to change.
Yeah, I think there was somewhere around like 60,000 customers when I joined, and 2 million plus like when I left. So orders of magnitude, and even the company, I think we were 300 in total when I joined. I was one of the first product managers, and then we were like 7,000 plus when I left. So it was. I think the weird part is like it always felt crazy. Like doubling, I think, is always a shock to your system. Like, growth top line wise and people wise, like, and just everything was always doubling. So I think there was always new problems. And I think, I don't know that the later problems were any less complex than the kind of the early ones. There were different ones for sure. I think one of the best things about Shopify is like they really know who they are. That doesn't always work for everyone, but they really know who they are and why they do things, like the platform focus, the like deep engineering focus, the focus on quality and building things.
So you're there on the inside on this rocket ship of a software business, and you see how the sausage is made. And yet you still, during that time, said, I should start my own e-commerce store. What possessed you?
I think it was, there was actually someone, his name's Tucker, and he was on the marketing team. And I think he was in support. And then he kind of joined the marketing team. And basically, he took a coffee drop. He was drop shipping coffee. And I think he was selling maple bacon coffee, which no one had done before. And he went very hard into the bacon branding, and it took off. Their sales blew off, and I think he sold the company in like 3 months or something. And I was like, oh man, like I want to be like him. I want to learn from him. There was also another guy, Mark, that sold silk flowers online, and like I just looked up to these two folks in the office, and I'm like, I love what you've done, like to actually try and start something, and like they just had a deeper knowledge of the product and a deeper empathy. Because it's easy to look at software as a bunch of buttons and screens and like, how do we design this better? But like when you felt the pain, when you going in and you got to do 5 clicks to do something, you're like, why did you do this? Right. So I think that was kind of the motivation on that side. And then when it came to kind of starting my own brand, I grew up in South Africa. And there's this like snack we have in South Africa called biltong. It's like beef jerky, but like way better. And I couldn't nobody was really selling biltong online. And I'm like, oh, this is an interesting product. It's different, photographed beautifully. And so I was like, okay, let's try this. And it was very humble beginnings to start. Like I think I literally threw up the store with stock photography, and like I was testing some weird marketing strategies on Instagram, and I didn't even set up the payment gateway, I think, properly.
Oh, jeez.
And then I was busy, right? I had a full-time job, and I think like just got married, and my life was complicated. And then somebody messaged me like, hey, I tried to buy from your store, but it wasn't working. I'm like, okay, sick. This is the signal. This is the signal I need that I'm actually going to finish the store and launch it. So that was kind of the push. And then, there was a whole roller coaster from there. But yeah.
Yeah, having a stranger reach out to say, I'm trying to give you money and I can't. That's excellent validation. Like the friends and family, you're always suspicious. You don't know, like, are they just being nice? Are they being supportive? versus like for a total stranger to go through the effort. Like, okay, there's something here. There's at least one person willing to pay for this. So if there's one, certainly there's 10 that tried and we didn't hear from them. I'm looking at the store now, Bull and Cleaver. Here it is. Phenomenal content, but incredibly simple, straightforward theme. No goofball widgets and apps and things like popping out, flying everywhere. I like this store. How much branding? How much effort? Like what? How do we feel about this now?
I mean, it's got another year. Like it's been a year since I've done some sharp polishing on it, but I think I am overall quite proud with it. Like I don't think I've ever paid for a theme. Like I've always used, I think Dawn is what this one's based on, and that thing. I think, I think something I learned when I was on the onboarding team and we were running a lot of experience with themes is like people don't even know what they're looking for in a theme. You know what I mean? Like, are you trying to figure out the top? Do you like the banner? Do you like the collection page? Do you like the colors, the fonts, right? The photography and the default theme? Like, I've learned that like people don't even know what a theme's meant to be. And, my kind of mindset is always like, the theme doesn't matter. Like, there's a good you can pick a better foundation, but like, realistically, you can make anything beautiful. You can make anything fast and functional. I think people sometimes get excited if they need to find the perfect theme. They need to add all the apps. And then you end up with a store that's like super slow. It's bogged down. It becomes quite messy. So yeah, I'm definitely proud of what we kind of got there. I think I always, while I was at Shopify, it was always, a little bit of an abandoned child. Like I grew the store very quickly in like kind of the first year. I wish I'd just given someone a pile of money and said, go buy all the ads. I didn't realize how good it was when I started and how good ads were. Yeah, I grew quickly, and then they're like, oh, you should work on marketing stuff at Shopify. And then my life got complicated and I became a lead and had huge teams and those kind of things. So the store was on autopilot, I think. And then when I left Shopify, I went all in on it. And now that I'm building the next company, it's unfortunately not investing as much time as I'd like into growing it. But yeah, I'm very proud of the building blocks we have there and very intentional about how we built it. And, I think it's really just about like sticking to the simplicity of things and like do good photography, do it really well, keep the theme very fast, know who you are, know what the branding is. Like, there's a lot of subtleties there that really make the difference.
I hope people take that to heart. Someone who worked at Shopify, knew that platform, inside and out, built a great looking and successful store, and did it using the free default Dawn theme combined with great content. Less worry about all the, my tech stack, the features, and I have to have this and that. It's, the table stakes are the content, the product, and the product market fit. So what made you want to leave and go full time on this?
I think especially if you're early in at Shopify, like there was, we were always very proud. Like in Canada, there's not that many Shopifys, historically and that sort of thing. And there weren't a lot of companies to kind of look up to. And when we started to see success and when we joined, like I think there was a big emphasis from everyone internally that like, hey, like I hope you don't all, retire on an island and drink coconuts all day. Like, you've learned something hopefully at this company. You've got a bit of a little bit of fuel in the engine, career-wise. Like, please go and do something, right? Toby is, especially if you've spent time at Shopify, I think he's excited to see you leave, especially if you're building something, right? Like if it's not the right time for you, you don't want to just sit there for the sake of being there of like, oh, we need to keep someone there because they've always been there. And even if you're very valuable, I think it's like, it's a compliment to the history you've had there to go and build something. So I think for me, the things I love, like I love working with merchants. I just think, pretty much every person in my family is an entrepreneur. I'm almost the only person in my family that has like had a job. So it's Shopify was a natural place for me in that way. But like I always wanted to kind of start something, and I love working with merchants. I love making that work. I love the complexity of the platform and the building blocks. So, and that was what I loved doing at Shopify, is like teaching people how the system worked, why this was built in this way, what are merchants thinking about, what are they kind of doing. And I think, it was just kind of time where, as a lead, you do a lot of coaching, right? And teaching and telling the stories and, pointing all the ducks in the right row. But I kind of just wanted to build again, and build something from scratch and like challenge myself, do something very hard that I didn't know all the answers on. I think, making the leap to running a store was definitely a leap. Say, okay, cool, I'm going to pay my bills with this. And it's my sole point of failure and success. That was definitely a leap.
Ooh, inaccurate tracking. It's a silent profit killer. Every misdirected ad campaign, every misunderstood customer behavior, it's all money down the drain. But there's a fix. Elevar. It's your comprehensive tool to track and optimize all your conversions, making sure your marketing efforts aren't wasted. With Elevar, you get server-side tracking, boosted Klaviyo Flow performance, and boosted meta performance. That's better data, more accurate targeting, and ultimately, more conversions. Join the ranks of over 6,500 successful D2C brands like Glossier, Viore, and Magic Spoon. They've all turbocharged their conversion tracking with Elevar. Data-driven decision-making requires solid data and insights. Don't let your competitors get ahead because you're stuck with insufficient data. Invest in Elevar now and make every marketing dollar count. Their plans start at $0 a month, and all plans include a 15-day free trial. Go to getelevar.com to get started. ELEVAR, Elevar. When you made that change and you go from Shopify employee to full-time Shopify store owner, what do you think? What's the big lesson in that transition? You went similar job, different sides of the table.
A lot of the conversations I have are about the fun technical stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we would spend all day thinking about like, the sections you can use in a theme and what is the perfect, spent literally 100% of my time thinking about very nerdy, very technical problems that everyone asked as soon as I want to start, what's the perfect theme? What app should I use? And then I think I quickly learned like that doesn't matter at all. And if anything, it was a distraction for me as like an early stage store owner. You know what I mean? Like the things you have to get very good at are like, what are your what do your funnels look like, right? Like, how is the emails looking? Like, how is the ad creative rocking? Like, what do you have an angle? Do you know where you're going for that? Are you writing a blog post this week? And it just like it was a very different operational model, and I think I got a lot of respect for like D2C operators and like a lot of the people I've been following on Twitter for quite a while. I'm just like, oh man, this is what it really looks like to kind of do that, because like the tech is frankly a distraction. I mean, kudos to Shopify for their history. They made it so that you don't have to be technical, and you shouldn't be. You don't need to nerd about the things that people inside Shopify nerd out about. You know what I mean? And I think that was the biggest shock. I think I was always quite balanced in that way. I'm like not a tech for tech's sake person. I care about the bottom line, the impact a lot, but I had to like walk the talk myself because that stuff didn't really matter. You
had that techie, geeky, that engineering mindset, right? And then you go into running a store where like all the same tools, except now knowing how they work becomes much less important. Yeah. And instead, it's about, I don't need to know how my paint is formulated. I need to be able to pick up the paintbrush and paint.
Yeah.
And so you have to like do the work and have that creative output, and it has to serve a business. It has to serve this profit motive. Really very different kind of thinking. Sounds like it was a challenge to adapt to it, but certainly you did. What were some of those road bumps when you went full-time and started scaling Bull and Cleaver here?
The biggest ones were like, I haven't been watching my margins. And it's a meat product, so there's meat prices, and I'm like, I had a couple people helping me in the business, and we're like, let's add an extra SKU, like, let's keep the price where they are. And then you go and you like when it's, it's fine if you got a day job and you're like, oh, this is my little experiment. But then you're like, okay, I got to pay my bills with this. It's like, you start really digging into the financials and really understanding it. And like, you got to be careful with how many SKUs you're adding, because like adding SKUs seems like a good idea at the time. And then there's more space in the warehouse. There's more products you got to restock across more things. So I think like I got slapped in the face with a lot of that kind of very early on. And then I think the blessing and curse was we started growing very quickly. And then it was like, how on earth do you forecast, right? Like, because,
I still don't know.
So I still don't think I figured that out. But I think it was like 4 or 6 weeks like lead time for us. And then you're like, are we going to double next month? So like, we've got to double our order now. And like, how are we going to do it? So I think that whole side was, when I was looking to do it full time, completely changed the game. And it was I felt like a child again. I'm like, okay, I need to like learn this whole thing. So I think, and then we had to like change our warehouses and just a lot of operational work. Because I think, again, the best D2C operators, I think, are excellent operational people and excellent marketers, right? Like, and I think those are two things I realized I was inexperienced in. And then I think on the growth side, I think I started in like September, October. I'm kind of going full gas on the store. And then like the iOS stuff happened. And that was like a complete shock, because I'm like, I'm barely figuring out ads. And then we like, kind of got, everything was thrown out. And we're like, oh, nobody knows how ads works anymore, right? Like everything just looks crazy and you're not sure how and why it's working. So, I had, my partner was kind of doing a lot of the hands-on marketing stuff. And I was like, okay, let me start digging into the store. Let me start digging into conversion rates. Like, let me start digging into offers. I need to find a way of us creating leverage so we can keep scaling the ads and that kind of thing. So that was the big one, I think, for us.
And so it sounds like your traffic, your qualified visitors, the people who are going to buy, your top of funnel strategy was Instagram, was Meta ads.
Yeah.
Back before it became Meta.
Yeah. Before it was Meta. Yeah. So that was like the playbook I used to start. And I think actually for many years, Google Shopping killed it for us. It was really great. It's where I got a lot of our first sales. I did the Shopify course on Google Shopping because I thought I knew it. And then we ended up getting a couple competitors that were selling in Walmart and Amazon, and it just decimated Google Shopping as an opportunity. Like costs went through the roof. So we've always had a lot of success with the Meta ads. I think for two reasons. Initially, it was it's very easy to target people that have lived in or visited South Africa. So that was always like a layer to the cake for us of customers to get. That also went out the window with the iOS changes. So we were actually had a bit of heat on us. We were like, okay, we can't just keep selling to South Africans. There's not that many in America either. So we were like, okay, how on earth do we sell this to someone in America that's never been to South Africa? And the biltong sounds like eating some strange part of an animal that you've never heard of. So that was the big, I think, challenge for us there.
Seeing it written out, it's spelled biltong, Biltong. Hearing you pronounce it, it sounds like bultong to me.
Doesn't help.
Like when you say it quickly.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if, do Americans think it's like that's what they're getting, bultong jerky? Which you could totally do. Tongue, you can eat tongue.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong. I grew up in a Portuguese household that loved tongue. My mom gave it to me as a kid. It wouldn't be a bad thing. But yeah, I think it was a big part of the confusion. So it was a big angle we needed to kind of think around. I A/B tested a lot between biltong and just calling it beef jerky or something like that. And I think it was never completely conclusive. And I think it actually it weakened calling it beef, because there's a pretty strong dichotomy. Like South Africans get very offended if you call biltong beef jerky. That was one problem. But I thought the bigger challenge we wanted to take on is like, hopefully people will learn about biltong, because we had a big competitor that raised a whack load of money. And they were spending a lot of money on educating the average Joe American about biltong. So I was like, okay, let's try and ride that wave. And in all of our marketing, we're like, how can we get people to think about this as a healthier jerky, but learn about biltong as a category? So it was one of those hard choices. I think I still have debates with people these days of like, oh, should you just call it, beef jerky and that kind of thing.
In your experience, what do you think are some of the key tips here for a store that really sells? Like I'm hearing, hey, less tech stack, more content, more story specifically. And then within that, you're really experimenting with how you position and explain the product, and then how you're targeting it, which kind of came out of necessity with iOS, with that iOS update that really, really hampered a lot of sales.
Yeah. I think like my methodology is kind of like, it's one I've been using kind of forever. I think I kind of learned this in my onboarding days at Shopify. Like all my biggest onboarding was very simple at Shopify in a way. I think in any like consistency through the funnel is how you make more money, right? A consistency of the experience, right? So, in the early, one of the biggest things I worked on at Shopify was when we were acquiring a lot of customers on Facebook. We were like, hey, let's tell them you can sell on Facebook when you're on Facebook. And then we were like, oh, let's actually create a landing page that talks about Facebook. Oh, great. Okay, that'll increase conversion rate. And then like in Shopify, we're like, oh, let's increase conversion rate. So my playbook when it came to my own brand was kind of the same in a way. So what I used to do early on, because I didn't know how I could convince people to try biltong. So what I would do is I'd run like 10 different ads with like same image and like trying different copy and different angles. And it's not just like random word generation, like 10 probably like let's try something different. Let's call it like this: you'll never eat beef jerky again. Like let's be aggressive against beef jerky, or this is South Africa's gift to the world, or something like. Let's go at the South African angle and like build some curiosity. So like try different things that you can learn from the different experiences. And then I don't even think I got purchases in the beginning because I was barely spending any money and like whatever, but I would see which ones had the highest click-through rates. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this one's working. Okay, I don't have enough data, but like, let me change the whole website. So like would rewrite my whole funnel to like, let's try this copy, like, and let's see what happens. And then it would click. And then you'd be like, oh, interesting. Okay, cool. How can we go deeper on that? So, that's kind of what I did at all phases. And I think, the big breakthrough for us was to selling to the American audiences. Like, I think I had a friend, she'd never tried the product over 10 years and she was a foodie and she's like, oh, Dan, I have to finally try your stuff. And then like I sent her like a whole bunch of bags and she was like, very interesting. I actually didn't expect it to be so different in between all your different flavors. I didn't know which one I wanted. I didn't know if I wanted grass-fed or chilies, or we have this thing called druvos, which is like it looks like a pepperette kind of thing. She's like, I had no clue what any of these things were. Thank you for sending me a bag of everything. I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, oh, maybe we should play around with a taster pack, like removing that friction of like, which thing do I try and that kind of thing. So we were like, okay, cool, let's create this product and like kind of tackle it. And then that started to work. And then we just like, from our ads to our landing pages to our product pages to even our pop-up on the site, we're just like, this is the thing. We want people to try a taster pack, and then they're going to pick something they like and they'll order again. And maybe we have some subscription. That is the journey. And so we just like went through every step. Like, how can we make that obvious on the landing page? How can we make that obvious in the ads? How can we make that obvious everywhere? And I think just even, again, little hack that I took from kind of my Shopify experience is like, we took a screen cap of the ad, and we put it on the landing page in the banner of the landing page, and like saw a huge lift in that, because just people are like, I think we have to recognize like people are lost and bewildered when they're on your website, right? They're like, I clicked on this ad, like, what is this? Am I in the right place? And I think just like giving people that comfort of like, hey, this is that thing that's better than beef jerky that you saw. Yes, it's called biltong, but like you're in the right place. That same ad that like caught your attention, like you're in the right place. It's okay, right? And you just got to kind of keep like bringing the consistency of messaging is like I think it's like a safety thing for people too. No,
I like the phrase safety. I often refer to the safety net. Like there's some things that you want that seem either pointless or obvious to you, as the brand owner because you spend more time on that site than literally anyone else on the planet, and this will always be true. So you have to get out of your own head and just accept that it is not obvious to the person who has spent maybe 3 seconds looking at this site after being interrupted scrolling through whatever by an ad. And so it really has to have that consistency. I'm glad you brought that up. Based on the timeline here and what you're saying, I am guessing you left Shopify, go all in on Bull and Cleaver, and then just get slammed by that iOS update. How did that go for you?
Yeah, it was. I think it was a big challenge, right? Like I had to. I mean, I think there was actually an interesting curve in the story. I think when I first came in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to focus on ops. I need to focus on warehousing. I need to focus on the margin. I need to focus on figuring out marketing again. And we double, tripled and whatever. But I think the funny thing was a couple months in, when we kind of had the breakthrough of actually acquiring Americans cheaper than South Africans through all this stuff, I did that breakthrough was me leaning back into my strengths a little bit. Because we did a whole bunch of experiments on the text, on the landing pages, and we built the landing pages in Shopify sections so we could test something and then bring it from the landing page back there. And I started building a bunch of, we were doing a lot of promotions, and I started detecting a lot of friction in how we were doing that. So I built a prototype for what became Abra, and that was what was making the business successful. So I think I kind of came to a realization. It was a bit of a journey of you've done something for 8 to 10 years, and you're like, do I do the same thing for the rest of my career? Let me try something different. You learn your magic a little bit. It's it turns out it's rare to know how to pull these levers in Shopify in this way. And it made a thing that started making our business really click. But I think I also started getting the itch of I was showing off the stuff I was quite proud of that was kind of giving a solution. People were how on earth did you do that? Why are you doing that in that way? Why aren't you using just the hipster landing page tool of the moment right now? And how are you making this thing happen? And so I had a lot of friends that I was getting to know on the merchant side that were saying Dan, just so you know, that's nobody has that. Nobody can do that. And I'm okay, maybe I'm coming back to my roots a little bit. So I think that's where it kind of came. Yeah.
The holidays are here.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
First comes Halloween, then Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Boxing Day, New Year's, and great Scott, how will we ever keep up? Easy. Use Zipify Pages. Zipify Pages. It's a landing page builder created by the founder of a $180 million Shopify store. It has everything you need to launch your next promotion more quickly and for a lot more profit. With their library of proven templates, you could build a high-performing holiday funnel in just a few clicks, from Black Friday to New Year's and everything in between. And because every template is tested first on their 9-figure Shopify store, you know they actually work. Plus, you can use Zipify Pages to optimize your product pages, blog pages, and even your homepage, so your store's ready to convert more of that holiday traffic. So if you want to have your most profitable and stress-free holiday season ever, then go to zipify.com/Kurt. That's zipify.com/KURT to start your 14-day free trial today. And to get an unadvertised gift, email help@zipify.com and ask for the holiday bonus. You have a SaaS business that you've started after leaving Shopify, after Bull and Cleaver. Now you have a new thing. You're back to software. Tell me about Abra. What the heck is this?
Yeah, so I think Abra kind of came from this place of, we had this site, and I worked so hard to build one version of it. Took a lot of time and a lot of energy and expertise. And then, we were trying a new promotion. We were okay, cool. We got spicy products we want to push right now. We want to upsell those, and those are working real on retention side. And we'd give the person the discounts, and they just wouldn't use it. And we're like, oh, well, that's annoying. And it's because, you give someone a code and they're like, oh, you're going to memorize it and like put it in checkout. So we were having a problem kind of changing our site. And, I'd kind of said to one of my developer buddies, I was just like, this is so silly that like, I can't change my store to like make a promotion. And so we kind of built a prototype in my store where, we were promoting grass-fed biltong. We like just subtly changed the site. We updated the prices to actually have that. We like did a pop-up and we followed the customer through the experience. And it doubled our conversion rate on our email campaigns from like 10% absolute click-to conversion ratio to like 20 to 25. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I like showed it to a bunch of friends at Shopify, what we'd hacked in our store. I showed a bunch of like friends. And I was just like, I don't know why no one's ever done this. Like, this is very strange. And so I think that was kind of the genesis of Abra. And the simple part of it is like, we think personalization is way too complicated. But if more people could change their site and personalize it, they'd be able to increase conversion. So, kind of tested with 30 people. They all saw great results. We saw people like increasing the conversion rates by 25%, reducing their ad spend by like 25 to 40% if they were using discounts on those ads, which is like a huge material impact, on your contribution margin and those kind of things. And then on the technical side, I was like, ooh, like, I think I had like at some point in Shopify, I had a pitch of like, I know a theme is just a lump of HTML, but wouldn't it be cool if when I launch a promotion, my site could just adjust to it? That would be amazing for my customers. I would get so many more sales. Everyone's like, oh, cool idea, but we need this, and then we need this, and then we need this, and this. It'll be 10 years till we get there, And so I guess one of the fun parts of kind of being outside of the ecosystem is I can break the rules. I can just build it. So yeah.
It's a great idea. It's a great use case because this is a thing that I've been dealing with recently that drives me a little crazy. Is you run a promotion, and no matter how you promote that promotion,
yeah.
no matter how you hype it, when they land on the site, what pricing do they see and when do they see the discount? So I get an email that says, hey, 40% off store-wide all weekend. Cool. I click through because it's using a discount code. It's using a script. It's using Shopify functions. However I'm applying that discount, no one is seeing it until at least the cart or the checkout. They're not seeing it on the homepage, collection, or product page. And so they're looking at that full price until they get to checkout. And then maybe even they have to apply the coupon code themselves.
But
what your app is doing is I see the discount immediately and throughout. And what kind of conversion lift are we thinking this is worth?
I think, again, we see, matters on the offer. Like the important dynamics we actually find is like, how big is someone's cart, right? So I think, the one thing is you can build a landing page. You can auto-apply a discount on a landing page. But, if someone wants to add more things, if they're adding 5 things, if they're adding 10 things to the cart, if you want to increase your average order size, it's actually very, very, very important that the discount is actually applied there. So I think, that's where we've been absolutely killing it. I think anyone in like beauty, food and bev, even apparel, where you've kind of got this like bundling in the carts of that you want, like, we see depends on the brand, but anywhere between 25 and 200%. It's kind of just simple user experience, right? Like there's no like secret, like how is this working? It's just simple, right? Like if your mom was shopping on your site and you are saying to her, hey mom, I love you. Here you go. You get this special deal only for you as a VIP. And you give her that code and she's got to remember it and check out. Like she's not going to buy it, right? Whereas if she goes on the site and you're like, hey, welcome, you're getting the VIP discount just by clicking on the link and the price are there, that person's going to buy it,
Yeah, it is a streamlined and sensible experience that way. And it eliminates the breakage. Like that always drives customer support people nuts in bigger Shopify businesses where you've got this order volume coming through, they do a sale, and then guaranteed you're going to get a whole bunch of emails. They're like, oh, I bought all my items, but I didn't actually get the discount. So can you fix that? Like, it's not tough. You do a partial refund, but it's also not ideal.
Yeah. Well, I think it's we saw the same thing. We actually had a customer, one of our earliest customers. Whenever he did a promotion, in his email, he had a whole section at the bottom. It was like, here is how you use this discount. You go into this part of Shopify, you click apply, checkout. So we had to literally, it increases conversion by teaching them. That's why he had to add it there, right?
Because on mobile, in the Shopify checkout, the order summary is collapsed by default, and the discount code input is inside the order summary. And so you get people who are like, hey, I bought or tried to buy, but I straight up could not find where the discount code goes. And that's why. And so just eliminating that speed bump entirely, well, of course that's going to be worth a conversion rate bump. No, this makes, it tracks. It makes total sense.
Yeah. And, I think the part that excites me the most is, I'm not like hey, everyone, isn't it exciting? You can give away more of your margin. Like, that's not the part that, no, I'm not a discounting zealot. I think the problem is there's this lack. It's hard to do things the smart way with discounts today, right? Like, the easy way is you give everyone 20% off and then your margin's gone. I was chatting with someone the other day. Her name's Jess Chan. She's from an email agency called Longplay. And she has like a data science background and she's super smart about this stuff. She's like, there's like 6 different offers you should be running for like your 6 different cohorts of customers. And that's what I've seen that's worked. And she's like, great. She's like, the problem is like merchants have nowhere to execute that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't out of the box in Shopify, you can't run 6 different pricing offers to like 6 different customers, right? So that's, I find, the evolution of Abra has been like, okay, cool. People have this problem with discounts. Like, they want an auto apply. Okay, great. But then the interesting thing was like, oh, wait, like I can gate who gets that. That's interesting. But now I can run 6 offers. I can run 10 offers concurrently. I can run, 5 different ones on Meta. I can use my retention campaigns. I can do something for my logged in users. So like, I think the part that's exciting me about what we're building right now is like, we have any way of customizing the whole store at scale, right? Those are the merchants that excite us. Like, they're using us for all of their offers across their whole business. They're using us in their retargeting ads and their new stuff. So, that's the very exciting stuff to me. So it's about, you can get far smarter. It's hard to be smart today unless you're using a tool like Abra, I think, to do discounts. You have to do the generic stuff. You have to give away all your contribution margin. Whereas I'm very lucky that the customers we get to work with are telling me strategies that I don't see the average Joe trying, right? They're just like, oh, I got one off. I give everyone 10% off in their welcome email and that's it. And I'm like, why? Like, I don't know how to do it. It's not technically possible to do anything more sophisticated or more nuanced. In your marketing textbook, you've got this lovely strategy that you could do in theory, but like in the tech today, it's super hard. So I think that's the part that like really energizes us.
And you mentioned the tech today, and you have this wealth of experience. I want you to look at the crystal ball here. Make some. We're not going to judge you. We're not going to hold you to these. Like in 5 years, we're going to be like, I can't believe how wrong that guy was.
Yeah.
Where do you think Shopify is heading in the next few years, or what do you think the next big thing is for online stores?
Yeah. So I think with online stores, like, I think back to when I joined Shopify, and it's kind of horrifying. It's like I'm almost shocked Shopify was successful when I look how bad the online store was when I first joined. When you join, like Shopify themes, like now you've got the online store editor, and it'd be better in this way and this way and this way. But like in 2013, you just had a sidebar with a bunch of settings, and you had your theme. And if you wanted to actually change things, you actually had to code it. And it was just, again, I always think about this like, the old mental model of online stores, like it's just this lump of HTML, right? And now I think I'm very excited. I've seen some of your stuff too around like meta fields, online, like on the store sections, and like those things sound so nerdy. So it's almost hard for people to realize how powerful they are, and like meta objects and that kind of stuff. But like, oh my gosh, like, this big lump has become this little modular pieces, right? And this dynamic kind of flowing thing. Like it's actually a real thing now. It's kind of mind blowing. So if I look at the spectrum, there was this lump. Now there's all these pieces, and I think some of the stuff that excites me that I hear from the recent additions was like personalization, like, you know, the price list and having these dynamic experiences. So it's like, I think where storefront's going to be, they're going to be far more programmable. And they're going to be able to be dynamic. And they're going to be able to change. And they're going to be able to like tweak things at scale. So, you know, it might hurt me. Maybe I can get some free clicks about like, you know, the perfect AI future of like, oh, you have these components and the AI is going to pick what someone sees. Maybe eventually, but there's also a lot of very smart people I know that have great visions for what they could do for a customer, and that's not possible. So I think like I'm very excited by the future where it becomes more dynamic and more modular, and like, you know, you can just think about this maybe not be as sexy a vision as it is to me, but like you could think about your store as this like, you know, this bunch of components that's like going to be dynamically put together for each person on the fly and that kind of thing. Just keep getting faster and doing that. The thing that's been possible in the past, but not fast. And I think when Shopify does it, it will get faster and it will get great. So that's the kind of stuff that really excites me. So you can be nimble and you can be fast and you can kind of do this dynamic experience. That's the stuff that, because it's going to make everyone more, it's a better shopping experience. It's going to make people more money. That's why we're going to get there. Right. Like, so, yeah.
I agree with you. And it seems technical. It is technical, but it's really not hard once you've done it once. Once like you fumbled your way through, you know, a screencast tutorial once, and now, okay, you could get through it, you could do it, you could mess with meta fields. And it's just, you know, having that much fancier, modular, true content management system where style and substance have been separated. Not only makes life easier to manage the store, but you're right, it opens up a lot more possibilities down the road for generating dynamic content on the fly, for making personalized experiences based on, say, where someone came from. You know, how did they get to that store? What was the refer? That is where we get interesting. I want to know, tell me, where can we find out more? Where do I get Biltong? Where do I sign up for Abra? What am I doing here? Tell me where to spend my money with you.
Tell me to spend your money. Yeah, if you want to try Biltong and see if it's better than beef jerky, you can go to bullandcleaver.com. And yeah, if any of the stuff on the promotions, or if there's new and interesting problems that I don't know about, I'm still a product person at heart. So I love when people have interesting problems that we can kind of solve. Yeah, you can find Abra as abrapromotions.com or Abra on the App Store. And or you can find me on Twitter, Daniel Patricio. Just reach out to me, and yeah, I'm down to help.
Daniel, thank you so much. This has been fantastic and illuminating. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, I need a better one. The unofficial Shopify podcast is brought to you by Loop. Loop is a returns management platform that makes returns profitable and stress-free for you and your shoppers. Loop offers automated returns, exchanges, and store credit options to lower costs and increase revenue. Do you want to offer at-home pickup or boxless drop-offs? Need to lower return costs or increase repeat purchases? How about all of the above? That's what's possible with Loop. Loop delivers customized returns management solutions for Shopify merchants of all sizes, like Studs, Princess Polly, Code Epoxy, to turn returns into returning customers. Find out why thousands of Shopify merchants choose Loop to manage their returns at loopreturns.com. That's loopreturns.com.